We're back with another VARguments episode, and boy, oh boy, we have two decisions that will definitely be talked about for ages and ages to come. Definitely, match day 36 was a blast, and arguably, this is probably one of the biggest decisions from VAR in since it was introduced to the Premier League, anyways. And Victor, we are starting with that big decision at the London Stadium. VAR played what looks like a decisive role in both the relegation battle and the title race. A West Ham equalizer in injury time was overturned when Pablo appeared to hold David Raya's arm before the ball made its way in. Do you think this was the right call or not?
Yeah, absolutely the right call. I think the holding was blatant. It was a clear and obvious error, textbook, like exactly what VAR was brought in for. Clear and obvious error, blah blah blah. So this one really gets zero complaints for me, which is quite, let's say it's not a regular occurrence when it comes to VAR, right? I've been bitching and moaning about it plenty this season. And yeah, just like you said, it's most likely the biggest VAR call since it came into the Prem. And I'm quite relieved that they got this one correct.
Max, your take on that?
Yeah, before I blame some refs, I'll start with that. I agree it was a correct decision. Not only the holding of the arm, but also one of the players was pushing his t-shirt as well from the behind. But man, first of all, how on earth it take you 5 minutes to see that there was a foul? It makes no sense. And also the fact that, yeah, this time it was a correct decision. But we saw like 10 times this season that pretty much happened the same and nothing happens. So why they didn't look for it previously? Are they showing only in the big games that really matter, or they're just that bad? So I mean, obviously it was a correct decision, and it was probably nice to see Colade. But I mean, the rest itself, yeah, they did well this time, but they definitely should improve because we saw a lot of moments like that before.
Regardless of the jersey I'm wearing, I think no one is surprised to hear me also say it's the correct decision. If you also look in the box, you'll see a sequence where Rice and Mavropanos seem to have like a go on it, and I saw a lot of rival fans mentioning that, but that was not impacting the play in any way. They were far away from the ball. What was impacting the play was where Pablo and David Raya were, and Raya was just about to catch the ball. I also feel like if this was not a big game in the context of both sides, I think they might have allowed that goal to stand because the fact that they are taking 5 minutes to check that decision seemed to me like they were trying to find some way to justify it. But anyway, they made the right call, and thankful to VAR this time for saving World War III.
And it makes my point even bigger because, as I mentioned, they don't really pay attention in the lesser games, but they should because
Yeah,
that's why they get the salary.
well,
I
you
think
wonder if
one way that they could speed things up a little bit would be to get rid of the assistant VAR. If you have just one person, it might be a more seamless process of that looking at the sequence of play and then telling the on pitch ref you need to go see this, instead of having one
different
extra
opinion.
brain in there to have to take into account, or feelings, or whatever you want to call it. So to just have one person and one techie in the VAR room, that the techie gets you the frames that you need, but only one VAR referee.
Yeah, fair enough. Away from the title race and the relegation battle, we move over to Anfield, where Liverpool versus Chelsea also had a controversial episode. Jeremy Frimpong and Joao Pedro appeared to, tangle their legs in the red penalty box. Victor, should this have been a penalty for Chelsea?
It's quite a tough one, this, but I'm leaning towards yes. So I'm leaning towards wrong decision. I think there's clear contact. Frimpong doesn't get any of the ball really, at least in the replays we've seen. And I think Joao Pedro did himself and Chelsea a bit of a disservice because he got up off the ground straight away. Had he stayed down clutching his ankle, I think this one would have been given. So honestly, credit to him for that, not begging for the pen. I was certainly not expecting this level of sportsmanship from a player who kept letting elbows fly last season. So yeah, I'm gonna say wrong decision, and Frimpong is one lucky lad.
Max, your take on that one?
Yeah, I did saw a lot of people complaining about the knee contact, but I feel like that after Frimpong missed on the ball, he actually stood on a leg of João Pedro. I saw the replays. I replayed it like 5 times, and I definitely see that he stood on his leg. So it has to be a penalty for me. So let's say it was a incorrect decision and it should be overturned. But I mean, yeah, probably due to the fact that he instantly stood up and continued to play. That's why they overlooked it. But still, you have to see these moments because, as I mentioned, that's why you get your salary.
Yeah, I think it was a wrong decision for me, whether he stood up immediately or not. Like, VAR is here for this kind of things, but obviously, you can't isolate that. You can't isolate that action because I'm sure they are probably telling themselves if he stood up immediately, then it wasn't much of anything to start with. Probably that's what they told themselves. But I think it was a penalty all day. But yeah, he stood up and he still had to go at the ball. So I think they felt let just let him have his chance, and he could have easily also scored from that chance too. So I guess that was why it was not given. It's not a scandal, really, but I think it should have been a penalty, in my opinion. But anyways, that's all we have for this VARguments episode for Match Day 36. We still have 2 more game weeks in the Premier League, and we're waiting to see if we would have some incidents. I think we would definitely have some. But tell us what you think on this incident, especially the big one at the London Stadium. Should West Ham's goal have been allowed to stand, or was it correctly ruled out? Tell us your thoughts on this, and we'll be waiting to hear from you.